want to talk about you for a minute. Those gaslighting things I said earlier, how many of those things do you say to yourselves? One of my dearest friends is here today. I don't even know whether she remembers me remember saying this to me, but she talked to me about my self-talk and how awful it was. And she said, you know, if you spoke to me the way you spoke to yourself, I wouldn't even be your friend. Our self-talk usually is horrible. I believe we gaslight ourselves sometimes because we want so much for things to be different, we don't tell ourselves the truth all the time. One of the things that has to do with addiction, whether or not you're the addict, or you're the partner, or whether you're in a troubled marriage, or you just don't have a good feeling about yourself. I talked a little bit about this last year, and I will talk about it when there's more than 3 people anywhere. What is the difference between guilt and shame? And we kind of, yeah. Guilt is something that I've done. Shame is something I believe I am, okay? Now, one of the things my friend Elizabeth's husband taught me is to not use words like never, ever, and always, because they're usually not true. Your husband doesn't always forget to take out the garbage, and never, ever helps around the house at all. It feels that way, but it's not that way, so that's not true. One exception to that, every single whisper of shame to the Christian is a lie from the pit of hell. Your shame was nailed to the cross 2,000 years ago. Grace can't even cover it because the blood of Jesus already did. So when you have those, and they always start with you are, or you never, or you're always going to be like this. It's always mean. And then to add to that, okay, we've got the enemy over here. Almost every woman I know has a mean girl committee that lives in her head. See, you know it. And they're hateful little wenches, man. They don't want what's good for you. They're not helpful. And sometimes we go, yes, if I would just do what she said. No, they're not for you, they're against you. And they're just like those mean girls in high school, you know? And they live in your head and they tell you what to do, and they have nothing to do with the enemy. That's just your own psychology. But guilt can be motivating. We need grace because of guilt. I'm guilty every day. But when it goes over to shame, guilt can motivate me to be a better woman. Shame only makes me sit in my pity party and go, see, God, you made a mistake. I'm a mess. I'm awful. I've been abused. I am defective is the word I was looking for. I'm defective in some way. Of course, you absolutely put yourself against what God's opinion was. One of my friends actually said that to me. I have some really confrontive friends, and I'm glad for them. Because, and I think I said this last year, we are all recovering jerks, okay? That spectrum I'm talking about, there's not just an autism spectrum, there's a jerk one too, okay? And some days I'm over here and sometimes I'm over here. But if you don't have at least 2 or 3 people in your life that'll tell you when you're jerk showing, you're in danger. You have to have them just go, tell you the truth. And my friend said, I think you make a lot of contracts with the enemy. I was like, well, that's a pretty nasty thing to say. She goes, no. I hear you do it all the time. God says this about you, the enemy says this about you, and you go with what he says. Well, sometimes I say, he's got the goods on me, you know? He does. But that's about guilt. It's not about shame. And shame is all over betrayal trauma. Shame is all over addiction. And shame is the single most useless emotion we can have. It's just not good for us, and it doesn't motivate us to anything. So, whenever that voice comes, either the nasty girls or the enemy telling you you're defective, you got to speak the truth to them. You have to speak the truth.